All right, I'm gonna call to order this recessed meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We'll move right on over to the approval of the agenda. So we need a motion for that.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Audit amendment contract approval. I think it has to do with the timeliness of it, right?
Right, it was, yes, we had it, date submitted for October 31st, and we're amending to not necessarily extend the date, but to show that the board has.
Right.
For that, yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions about that? If none, then we'll entertain a motion to approve this amendment to the audit contract.
So moved.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'm gonna sign this and ask y'all to hand this back down to Beth. You hand that to Beth. All right, our fiscal year 2024 single county audit report. Mr. Thompson, sitting here and all ready to go.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
You should have a presentation summary.
You do. Well,
And I'm
as soon as it comes back up.
Jump from that. And on page one of that particular report, there's several things I need to just kind of go through with you to make sure we're all on the same page. The main thing you hire us as an independent audit firm to do on the audit is to issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. We issue an unmodified report, which is a quote unquote good report. On page one, under qualitative aspects of accounting practices, and there's 3 paragraphs. In each paragraph, there's a key phrase, if you will. First paragraph is appropriate accounting policies. The next is accounting estimates, and the third is disclosures in the financial statements. And we were good with all 3 of those. On the bottom of that page, there were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. On page 2, there were no uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated March 7th. We're unaware that management consulted the outside accountants, auditors, etc. And then there were 3 findings in the audit report. 1 was late. The other 2 were Medicaid findings, which we've gotten a response back from that specific department. No funds were involved in the findings. And then the other issue is on page 4, not issue, but the numbers, if you will. And what we attempt to do on this page, and then there'll be some charts and graphs to follow on that, is in the first column to your left will be the June 30, 2024. And then just to the right of that will be the prior 4 years audit reports. And so that when you get to June 30, 2024, and you're looking at it, you don't just look at a number without any context to it. So that first number there, total fund balance in your general fund, $16,997,000. You can see the prior 4 years numbers there. If you went back to 2020, you'd see that it's $13,561,000. Unavailable fund balance is $4.9 million. The committed and assigned is $1,129,000. And then general fund expenditures at $57,374,000. And then fund balance available as a percentage is 21.03. The unassigned fund balance is 10.9, and unassigned fund balance is 19.06. Unassigned fund balance, available fund balance are big numbers when it comes to going to the debt committee at the state treasurer's office, and those 2 percentages play a big role in that, and as well as your tax collection percentage. Those are some of the key factors they would look at. Your revenues over and under expenses before transfers in the general fund was a minus $2,074,000. Public works was a minus $228,000.
Now, when you say minus, that's an addition to it, right?
No, there was, that's before transfers. There's actually a positive overall increase in the general fund.
Okay.
And you use the ARPA funds as revenue replacement, and that was below this 2 million that,
Okay.
and you can see up at the top number, if we went back to that your general fund balance actually increased from $16,078,000 to $16,997,000.
Right.
And you're using ARPA funds basically to get there.
Right.
Water District, 1 was a positive 59,506, and Water District 2 was a positive 134,347. Cash in water districts was, 12,875,000, accumulated depreciation, 6,789,000. I'm sorry, I got that all screwed up. Total fixed assets, 12.8 million, accumulated depreciation, 6.7. Cash is 4.1. The reason I normally don't read these numbers is because we're gonna have what they call a financial performance indicator of concern later on. And while I don't, it's just a number the LGC chose, whether it's at random or they just said, hey, just start taking a look at it. When you see total fixed assets at 12.8 and you see accumulated at 6.7, the 6.7 is greater than 50% of the 12.8. And anytime it gets greater than that 50%, they wave their hand and go, hey, realize at some point you got to start thinking about how you're going to replace this, et cetera. So it's not an alarm. It's just something you have to respond and say, hey, we do have a plan long term.
So, okay, I get what you're saying.
Then cash in your general fund is 14 million. Public Works is 1,479,000. Water District 1 is 1,633,000. And Water District 2 is 2,468,000. Other governmentals is 5,036,000. Fund balance in general fund again is 16,997,000. Public Works is 215,000. Water District 1, 1,870,000. Water District 2 is 3.2 million. Then fund balance, other governmentals is 4,936,000. The main thing in the two water districts you want to always look for is positive cash flow. As long as you got positive cash flow, you're not really looking at how great your net position is because you're not intending to sell it. You just want to make sure they're paying for themselves.
Just a quick question on that. On Water District 1, there was quite a turnaround after 4 negative years. What do you attribute that to?
I don't necessarily have that right off the top of my head. I can do some looking and find out for you. I'm happy to give you a call on that.
I've got an answer for that. So the water districts were, we had 7 districts that we thought were going to be grandfathered in. They were not. So basically when the city came in, redid whatever the state asked them to do as far as restructuring, basically Water District 1 became Water District 2. And so that's kind of, it basically just flip-flopped with the way the mapping and all that took place. It was more of an internal thing from bookkeeping than it was anything else as far as not making money or.
So as it's restructured now, it's cash positive?
It is, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You see your property tax rates there on the next line for the 5 years. Collection percentage, 96.89%. And then total property valuation and levy amounts are next. And then you see a breakdown of general fund revenues by department and general fund expenditures by department, with total revenues being 54.9 million and expenditures at 57,068. Doesn't take into account that ARPA money that we talked about, which was used for revenue replacement. On page 5, you see your total fund balance there in blue and committed and assigned in red. And then on the bottom, you see your analysis of fund balance available as a percentage compared with a group weighted average. And then on page 6, you see your analysis of unassigned fund balance as a percentage, staying pretty steady across the 5 years. And on the bottom of that page, you see revenues over and expenses before transfers for the 5 years for those 4 departments or funds. On page 7, you see a pie chart for cash balances and fund balances at the top. And underneath that, you see the total amounts, that cash balances being 24.6 million and fund balances being 27.2 million. On page 8, you see your property tax rates and the group weighted average. And on the bottom, you see collection percentages and the group weighted average as well. On page 9, you would see the breakdown of your general fund revenue by percentage. with ad valorem tax being the largest at 45.72, and then your sales tax and other taxes, et cetera. And then on the bottom, you see the expenditures with public safety, education, and human services being the largest three. And then on page 10, what I was talking to you about earlier, the three items they discuss are the audit timeliness, and then the that percentage that I talked about earlier. And you can see where it's at 46%, and they'll just want a response back going, hey, we think we're in good shape. Because if the lines are on a 40 or 45-year life, and you're at 22 or 23, then you still got 18-year life. And if you've got repairs, et cetera, to them, and you think they're in good shape, or you've done a study to say, hey, we're in good shape with them, it's not, the alarm bells aren't ringing. They're just saying, make sure you got a long-term plan.
Do we need to have an answer for that next year, so we can go ahead and put that in? Or
No, as long as it's that accumulated depreciation is going to end up being greater than 50%, they're going to keep sticking it in there. And I called,
even though we may have an explanation?
yes, sir. I spoke to Kendra Boyle, who's the head of the LGC, and said, is there some way we can deal with this other than putting it in there? And she basically said no.
Okay.
Where would, on pie chart on page 9, where would the ARPA money be listed at in the pie chart?
Is that the one with the different?
Yeah.
It would probably be, I don't want to.
It's in a different department. It's not in the general fund. We're transferring it into the general fund to supplement the revenue in the general fund.
Okay.
That's all I got. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Not just now, but if you go home, you look through the report, and you got a question or two, feel free to give me a call. I'll be happy to answer any questions you got.
I tell you, since you mentioned that intergovernment revenue, can you describe what that is?
I'll do my best to give you the page to go to too. And the larger audit report,
I'm just wondering if that may be where the ARPA, it sounds like from federal to local.
so in 63 of the audit report, which I know you may not have in front of you, it would give you the breakdown. Some of that might be your Medicare, Medicaid, some of that's other, like DHS has all their revenue sources, et cetera. And then you got a bucket for sales tax, and then you got your property taxes. That's really where your big money's coming from.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
ABC.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, sir.
I
I
appreciate it.
appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
All right, next is, Dr. Baldwin, Johnson County School System report.
Give us the two.
Small
Let
deck.
me go second. Is there somebody else here?
No, we're going into budget stuff next.
Y'all have to
If
clap
he's
for
waiting on you, that he can maybe sing or entertain.
I don't want to use, I didn't, we had a PowerPoint, didn't know, it's only a Google district.
I'm good, I need back. Hey, I'm no problem.
2 seconds.
And we're gonna start off with a presentation, but in front of you have a booklet. So I'm not gonna go into all the details. I'm gonna give you an overview, get some high notes. But the booklet gives you a little more detail of the talking points that I'm just speaking of. But we're gonna start off by simply telling the narrative and hopefully giving you a snapshot of all the great work that's taking place in Scotland County Schools. While we get that together, I want to say thank you to the Board of Commissioners. For those who've been on the board for a while, thank you for all the years of support that you give in Scotland County Schools. For those who our newly elected Mr. Shelley, Mr. O'Neill, and Fazell, you been here though. Miss Ed, yes, I knew it was the third, I'm sorry. Thank you for the future. We all know we had some trying times on both sides, so we don't take that lightly. What I'm about to ask and what I'm about to say has been very well thought out, and a lot of time, effort, and energy put in it. But it's for the future of our kids. I know we're going to have some conversations where we agree to disagree, but I don't think there's no one at either table that don't love kids, don't want what's best. So as we work through this, hopefully we'll paint a picture that you see where your dollars and where the tax dollars are going. It has not been wasted. It has not been wasteful. We've been a good steward with it. It's time for me to go. Oh, all right, we got no time. So first of all, thank you. If you look at, can everybody hear me pretty well? If you look at Scotland County Schools, let me go, I got started, been practicing all night. I really haven't been practicing. We are Scotland County Schools. We have one primary, pre-K, 4 elementaries, 2 middle, 1 high, 1 early college, 1 alternative school. 8M as of today, as of February, was 5118. We have 300 pre-K that's not included in our 8M. This is a big deal. No, we don't get reimbursed for it, but we still got to take care of those 300 kids because they are our future. And in education, the stronger the foundation, the better the product. We are saying now in 4 years, the middle school is going to get a better child. The high school is going to get a better child from the middle school. Take some time, take some investment to get there. Our demographics is 9% Asian, 0.9% Asian, 4.8% Hispanic, of the 7.7, 15.4 Native American, American Indian, 21.9 white, and 49.3. Who clicks? Something we're really proud of. We have 846 staff members, which is by our calculations the second largest employer in Scotland County. And here's the highlight that I really think is 73% of our staff is from Scotland County, live in this residency. I really think that's a great ratio. For 25% allows you to be innovative, bring new ideas, and help us with creativity. So most of them are homegrown. 570 teachers are certified. Of 846, we have 570 teachers that are certified. We have 23 that are national board certified. We have 199 staff members that have their master's, doctorate, or advanced degree. Another highlight, we have a retention rate of 95% of the positions. When we took a job about 18 months ago, I think we was right a little above 80. So people want to stay. The culture is changing, and they're buying into the vision, and we're going to move the district forward. One of the highlights is increased graduation rate. The state measures us on when kids enter the high school in the 9th grade. They got 4 years to graduate, and we are above the state average of 86.9. The state average, we're about at 88%. Over the past 2 years, I've seen post-graduation plans include college, 60%, workforce, 36%, and 4% military. Our dropout rate is really decreasing. The alternative school is doing a really good job, along with other staff, of keeping our kids. We don't want the behaviors in our school messing up, distracting instruction, but we don't want to throw away kids either. So our graduation rate is a big help because the alternative school is figuring out how to keep our kids focused and keep them engaged. We have 244 kids in ROTC. In the past 21 years, students have successfully enlisted in the military. And we want to give kids choices between the military, you go to the next slide, and CTE programs. We offer 26 different pathways, and 24, we have 2,581 credentials, meaning that credential can range from Adobe to plumbing, certifications, different type things that kids can get that they hopefully can go into the job market. Every kid that comes through our school, we have no illusions, is going to go to a 4-year university maybe not in the community college, but hopefully keep them engaged in school, give them a life outside in the real world. Scotland County schools that had the highest credential attainment by credential in the state in plumbing. Plumbing is a big deal. If you ever paid for a plumber lately, that's a big deal. We have a registered apprenticeship with Scotland County Schools and Scotland Healthcare. All right, we are not just nuts and bolts. If you look at a school system that's really thriving, look at the arts department. The stronger your arts department is, the stronger your school system is. The arts is a big deal. Everybody don't run, throw, or jump. Sometimes you need avenues for kids that specialize in the music or theater. And we are really building a strong foundation with that. We are planning a 3-day event in April to showcase our program. We have athletes. We do love Pate Stadium. We have 25 different teams in the middle and high school levels. Thus far this school year, nine of our student athletes have signed to play collegiate level. Less than 7% of high school graduates play at the college. We produce a lot of athletes. And I'm thankful because of the student athlete. With the new NIL deal, it is not easy for kids to get athletic scholarships. And for us to have 9, that's a big deal. We're improving academics in school culture. One of the things that keeps me up at night is the weight of test scores. Test scores do not measure all the work that is going on in Scotland County schools, but it's what we're going to frame with. My people must thought I was going to be nervous. I said a lot of principles, so thank y'all for cutting me. Stop that. It's a big deal. The people that are sitting around the table from the school system, they're doing a great job of work. 18 months ago, I can't say that the work was focused on instruction, but I can look at everyone in the room now and say, we are putting it up and we're getting it in, for lack of better words. It is bell to bell. We're loving kids. We're doing relationships, and it's showing up. We got this thing we call RESA, and we call it the Big Four. In any school you go in, you should be able to identify with these Big Four. RESA, relationships, instruction, safety, and accountability. I challenge you, if you see a teacher, somebody you don't know, RESA. And if we're doing our job, and it is clearly plain that we're going to make sure kids are instructed, we're going to keep them safe, and we're going to be accountable for everything. Not one thing, all things. So 80% of districts, 80% of our schools met or exceeded growth. It's a disservice to the way they grade schools that you can meet and exceed growth and still be considered low performing. We don't hide from the fact of being a low performing school district, but we're going to come out of it. We're going to stay the course. We're going to own what's in front of us. We're going to be accountable, and we're going to make sure we're teaching the bell. We're going to make sure we love kids. We're going to treat people right, and we're going to come out of it. And 80% met or exceeded growth last year. We expect the trend to continue. Hopefully it's a little better. 3 of the schools, Scotland, Early College, South Johnson, and Sycamore Lane, improved a 4 letter grade. That is major. Major. So y'all need to clap for them 3. If you haven't been in the classroom and you ain't been in the school building, you really cannot appreciate what this has. So I call this a red-green report. What you really need to see is there's more green than red. Yellow means we're really close to getting to green. And we expect the trend to continue. So testing is coming up. People are really stressed. The wall is here and the wall is real. So if you see your neighborhood teacher, pat them on the back. Say thank you. Tell them you appreciate them, because this is hard work. Imagine going into a classroom like this and everybody's on a learning curve, learning a different approach. And that teacher has to reach all of us. I'm tasked to make sure everybody get up. Everybody in this room is probably pretty sharp, probably considered AIG or gifted, except me. And that teacher has a responsibility of reaching them. and they're doing a good job of reaching. So 8 out of 21 met growth. Nowhere close. Now, I don't want to paint the illusion. You can go to the next screen. 18 out of 20 we met growth. That does not mean proficient. We got a long way to go to get to proficiency. But you don't go get proficiency until you grow, until we get the culture established that it's a continuous growth. And we're going to continue to search for clarity in all decisions. We have seen gains in proficiency in reading and math in the elementary and middle school levels, beginning of the year to the middle assessments. We have seen significant progress at check marks. We just got our benchmarks 2 back. Benchmark 3 is taking place, and the preliminary data looks like we're looking pretty good, which should mirror the EOC. So we're expecting some great trend. Now I want to make sure, I'm real transparent. As much positive as I'm saying up here, I can fill the screens up with opportunities of improvement. So today I'm supposed to shine and tell all the highlights, but don't leave out thinking there's no problems in Scotland County schools. We got a lot of problems, and we're going to fix them one at a time. One of the things that I'm really excited about as a superintendent, amongst others, is that the level of accountability is here, the season of accountability. But with that, discipline is going down. You hear when you are one county high school, if there's a fight in Scotland County today, you're going to hear about it. It's nowhere around it. It's like big news. But if you go to a big city, they fighting all the time. They just got more news to go on. And we're not running from that, but it's not as frequent and it's not as large. So elementary is down by 14%, middle is down by 10%, and the high school is down by, the high schools are down by 20%. Now, here go the part that everybody waiting for. Got the shop out and everybody feeling good. Now, 24-25 is capital outlay. I think it's 23-24, right? 24. Current year, all right.
25, 26.
This is a review.
We just
Oh,
gonna
this
read
reading,
that.
okay,
Then I throw that at the end and you can,
okay, okay.
hopefully y'all gonna smile when I get that part. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. All right, 24-25. We got $300,000 for capital outlay. We spent that. Total lease payment for South Johnson Elementary was $2,116,706.26. We took with $382,973 from projected lottery funds and $712,000. And all this is in this book for revenue. Go to the next. The remaining balance of $720,772 will come from the local county appropriation. We budgeted $1 million in potential, budget of $1 million to account for potential revenue fluctuation. 20-year lease for South Johnson Elementary began in December 2018. It will end 2038 in December. 24-25 expenditures. If you look in the book, it's probably a little easier to read. It's on page 7. It's the same slide, but it's probably a little clearer. So we spent the majority of the appropriation of $4 million in maintenance. The next highest, I think it was 1.6, is in local supplement, and then exceptional children, which we have through the state funds that's at 13% for our EC kids, and we have about our kids are EC, so 7% of that EC that we not getting financed from or funded from, we have to go into our local appropriations and get. Next highest is technology and pre-K, classroom maintenance, transportation, superintendent's office, student support, public information, non-contributory charter schools. I think we sent about $100,000 away there. Cultural arts, career and tech, and the smallest amount that we spent out of the thing is school building administration. So that's the $10 million that how we used it. But if you look in the book, it'll tell you details, a little more, give you a little better narrative on how it was spent. request for 25-26. Everybody drum roll. All right, here we go. The same amount we got last year, which is 10 million. Request to maintain the current funding level. It is very essential. I know you got hard decisions to make, but I'm here to root for the school system, and it's essential that we keep what we got. Of course, we would want to ask for more, but we understand the need for everyone. But we really need to maintain the staff that we have to keep the momentum going. Right? Next. Sustained student support, salary, personnel costs, state and federal challenges, retirement, hospitalization costs are all going up. But I think we feel comfortable that we can maintain with some sacrifice if we get the current funding of 10 million. That's the fire alarm. Check. Cool. All right. We're also going to ask for to keep the same of the 300,000 for capital outlay.
I'm sorry, Dr. Baldwin, can you back up a second?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to read the bottom half of the slide. I'm a little distracted.
Current retirement rate 24.4, hospitalization 8,095, possible increase of 1%. State treasurer indicate hospitalization fund deficit must be addressed.
Thank you.
And so the 300,000 capital outlay, capital projects, 300,000 to offset South Johnson's lease payment. As we discussed, the lease payment, over $2 million, which decreased by 58,000 from the previous year. Funding sources, a lot of funds applied to lease payment, restricted sale tax, used but projections uncertain. But we're requesting the ability to allocate, we're gonna allocate $1 million of that. Because we're uncertain on how much exactly we're gonna pay. So we feel comfortable allocating $1 million that would subsidize what we need. All right. Thank you. Oh, I'm gonna have to look at it. I got that. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for what you do.
No,
I really do.
You said y'all, I'm gonna cut you
No
off.
problem.
The payment on South Johnson,
So
38, till 2038.
2038.
20-year lease.
Yes.
20-year.
You should have kept it off.
I mean, it's really just financing or paying the loan that we had to take to build it.
I have my own opinion about that, but that's not the
Right.
statement. But that's what we got, and we got to deal with it and still educate kids. So
Well, that was before except Mr. Fatter, that was before anybody else sitting here today was on this.
I might can speak freely, but
They did that the night before I was elected.
You did
Not that it would have changed.
Should have kept Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, that was.
Yeah. Any questions about?
Not,
I appreciate what
I
you
think
do
we
for
got
our kids.
another liaison committee meeting coming up in April.
Doc, appreciate the presentation. You and your staff appreciate what you guys do for our kids here in Scotland.
Thanks, man. We got that graph that says 73% of the people work here is a big deal. And it's not just 73% with cafeteria, child nutrition, or maintenance. It's educators and administrators. It is a diverse group of population that work here. It's going to take people who love Scotland County, because the work that we got to do, you can't do it without love. And here that care about what the community looks like and willing to go beyond a paycheck. It's those kind of people.
The hospital.
The hospital.
I want to ask this expense, county appropriation. You've got listed Board of Education, $728,000. Seems high, because I know they're not paid.
Yeah,
Not
look,
a
if you break it
tremendous-
down, it's,
Is yours in that too, or?
no,
Okay.
no, mine's not. Mine's is superintendent. It is mainly,
Insurance.
insurances.
Oh, so
Yeah, all that
you provide
comes-
the
yeah.
insurance.
No, for a lot
That's
of,
for, that's our unemployment insurance, workers' comp
Right.
insurance.
But it's under Board of Education.
Well, we,
Okay,
we technically say the board pays for that out for all
I got
employees.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just, that kind of jumped out. Okay.
Do you see a turnover, like county have turnover, they're leaving Scotland County, going to Hope County for employment? Do you see it so much, turnover?
no, we actually said an increase. Research shows that although they deserve more money, money don't really keep educators. It's the relationship piece that drives it. And we do, a lot. It is very intentional to make people feel seen, heard, and visible. Risa, I challenge anybody to go anywhere in the school and ask. I would imagine the kids probably should know. They should know. We are finally getting to a point where people, you can go into classrooms and people don't feel nervous or afraid like we got you. Like it is a continuous search for clarity and getting better. And that requires a lot of hands-on. I think we've up to about 2,000 walkthroughs for the district. That means that 2,000 people have been in classes just to monitor instruction. Is it perfect? No, because we have to develop force. We don't, if you think about Pembroke State, Fayetteville State, St. Andrews, Campbell, they're producing about 100 certified teachers a year. Now, that's 9 regions there, and our is right in the middle, and then we are low wealth, high crime area. It's hard to recruit people. So now we got to take teachers who started off in business, started off with a dream, but take them with a degree and say, we got to teach you how to be a teacher. So we have about, I wish Dr. McCray, he's on a recruiting visit now. I want to say about 40% comes from non-traditional background. So that means that we got to make sure you have support for a teacher who ain't never been in the classroom. Go in there and say, I like kids. I thought I did until I got to that classroom. And help them and hold them accountable without running them off. It takes a skill set and it takes a lot of investing. A lot. I know it seems you'll probably come somebody eat a lot of hot dogs because you're always feeding somebody just to give them time to say, hey, we see you, we hear you, take a break, breathe. Because nobody's coming from Raleigh to save us. Nobody, the playing ground is not the same. I'm not knocking charter schools or private school. I think you do the best for your child. But if we produce a product that's worth having, they'll stay. So we got to get people to buy in, treat them right, push them without pushing them away. It's hard.
Well, I noticed you said something in your presentation about 95% retention rate.
It fluctuates from 95 to 98.
That's exceptional.
It is extremely exceptional, but it's because of those principals in the room.
Well, being in the school at Shaw with those kids who were dealing with
A little different.
a little different, it requires a special person. You got to want to go to work. You got to want to go to work.
There's 2 jobs in this county I would take. First one is Board of Education, and the second is the teacher, because I might make it a day if I'm lucky.
We've had a few that didn't make it a day. We have some that's left crying.
So Dr. Ballin, I got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at maintenance, telephone services and mobile communication services, $259,000. Can you kind of explain that? I mean, it seems for the number of schools you have, that is like a huge number.
It's the bill we get. We are in the process of trying to get rid of the cell phone That's gonna knock out about 50 grand if we're able to do that and go through the link. But it's the networking and all that. It's
I was just, yeah, I didn't know if that was a placeholder some other time.
that's real.
Am I understanding
Hey,
it right?
The guy that's actually in the nuts and bolts raised his hand like in church. So go ahead.
If I may, Scotland County Schools right now is in the midst of converting all the landlines over to a voice over internet protocol system, a VoIP system, which will drop all landlines and reduce our phone bills projected by over 100,000 a year. It would also allow us to eliminate mobile communications by about 60% in the district. So we are projected to be able to cut, and we are still continuing to pursue avenues for reducing expenditures using modern technology. But the holdback has always been about infrastructure. And we can only use certain pots of money to be able to pursue that infrastructure, such as E-rate. Well, the final battle for that was the central office, maintenance and transportation, and we cannot use E-rate funds for the central office, maintenance and transportation. Those funds are designated strictly for school buildings. So we had to allocate from the local allocation in order to be able to do that.
So with Dr. Chapman, that's Dr. Chapman, he's over operations. We are always trying to figure out how to be good stewards. That accountability model part of RESA doesn't just apply to the teacher, it applies to everyone. And Dr. Chapman, along with the whole exec team, does a really good job of trying to do right by money.
That's
So
about a third of South Johnson's lease, so that's significant.
yeah, you mean 100,000?
Yes, $100,000. Did I read it right? You have 18 locations for pre-K? 9 private, 9 public, is that?
It's teachers. It's teach staff. Did we put sites? I'm sorry.
Yeah, when you say sites for pre-K, I thought it said 9 were,
We have 4 elementary schools and 5 private sites, so 9 locations.
9 locations, okay.
9 classrooms, so that would be 9 teachers.
Oh, sorry, I guess I read it, it said operates 9 pre-K classrooms. Additionally, there are 9 pre-K classrooms at private sites.
So it's 9 classrooms, but there's 5 sites.
There's 5 private sites.
So one site might have 2 classrooms or 1 classroom, just depending on how many they have at that individual site.
Gotcha, okay, that was just kind of confusing, I couldn't figure out.
Let me go back to what Ed said. What were you saying in reference, a third of IEJ's lease?
No, I was just saying, Dr. Chapman described over $100,000 in savings on the phone going voice over IP and changing that system. So if you save 100,000 there, the lease is 300. The contribution that they're seeking is 100. So that's significant. 100K is significant. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, so that process has taken about 4 years to come to life. So I get it that it is a big contribution towards the lease payment, but we can't underestimate the amount of work that it took. Ideas come fast, change comes slow. So that has been a lot of work, and it's not complete yet. Like, it's a lot of sacrifice. Then we got that's a whole nother ballgame, but we get it.
Yep, thank you.
How many trade, you mentioned plumbing. How many different trades do y'all teach at Scotland? Everybody pushed to college.
Yeah.
Now,
We got, I would have to go one, but if I start at the back of the high school, we got electrical, plumbing, carpentry, culinary, medical. I feel safe to say we got at least 10. Yeah.
Still got a roof in?
Yeah, we got kids on that checking room. I was at the grocery store last night, somebody pulled me about it. Something new every day,
Always.
always.
But just remember, if it was easy, then anybody could do it.
Yeah. That's true. Any questions? More?
Dr. Vaughn, I remember you talking about outsourcing the substitute teacher program.
Yes, sir.
How is that going? Did it net you the results you were looking for?
We don't spend, yes, it saves some money. The biggest thing though is that to their surprise, because we're 98% filled, we don't have, in the atmosphere of the building has changed, we don't have as many teachers out. So they're not making the money they probably thought they was gonna make. And so it has saved some. It cost us a little more to do the outs. We've saved in time management, instruction. The small amount of additional cost has been worth the investment. But we have saved money because we have nobody. We don't have people out as much.
Gotcha.
All right, anybody else? Thank you for coming. We appreciate it, the attendance that came. And why don't we take about a 5-minute recess here, just that way everybody can clean up. I know Meredith's got some stuff. And we'll come back in 5 minutes to, how about that?
Thank you, Dr. Bowman.
Thanks, Ray. I thought you was buying my lunch the other day. You walked out too fast.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a card.
Dorothy, can you mute that while?
That'll be-
All right, come back live to call this meeting back to order. We'll move on to the next item, which is fiscal year 26 health insurance estimates. Make sure you got a pillow next to you when you fall out of your chair. So
I actually have somewhere to look
I heard. Ain't much of one, but I heard.
Well, yeah, and I'll go ahead and tell you that way. You can see. The far right two columns are what they gave me this morning. So,
Hot off the
I
press.
want to take my lines off.
Fortunately, that don't work for me.
Wow.
Now, let me make sure I understand that's right.
Okay.
So I don't need you to go through each one. I think we can read it.
Well,
But,
thank you.
annual cost in that first column is what we're paying now.
Okay.
That's for how many employees?
354-ish.
Okay,
I mean, we have some frozen.
that's participating, that's participating.
Yes.
Okay. The next column is that same plan with a $924,000 increase, right?
Yes.
The other plans are, if we changed and went to that plan, that bottom annual cost is not what the cost would be, but what it would be increased over what we're paying now.
Yes.
Jesus. That's,
But they also emailed us this morning. With the
She
far
put that in
right
that
two
last
columns.
column.
Yes, and
The
the 25%,
25%, there it is.
but that's a
Yeah.
different plan, isn't it?
Yes,
Because it's a self-funded.
right. The one that they sent this morning was this, the one at the right is a, and then the other is the, United Healthcare.
Now that slash, $6,000, right?
That's, well, the IRS guidelines are they're forcing the deductibles to go up $100 anyway. So, the employees got to absorb that off the
Yeah.
top.
So the name says performance funded. So does that mean that based on our claim history, our rate could potentially change?
That's actually what's happening now. It's been, over the last couple of years, there's been an increase. Currently, last month, we had 12 large claims that were driving we're over what we've, what the budget.
They're
is.
losing money on us.
They're losing money. So, and it's gone down to 8 now, the large claims, which drives a lot of it.
Can you get what a large claim may be?
A surgery?
Cancer.
Right, okay.
What was it, Monty, 12 people over the last year, $0.2 million?
Right.
Yeah,
But I want
That doesn't count the small claims.
yeah, that's just the big things. I mean, we had one claim that cost us $366,000 in 1 year.
Right.
So we had a couple claims that are in the 300,000s.
I
And
mean, you
then we
can't-
have some that are under 100,000, they're about 80.
Does this translate over to this?
Yes. That 30%, correct? What is
Yes.
already in.
It's built in over here.
Yeah.
Yes, we build in worst case scenario.
Well, I don't know. I mean, either way you're looking at what way we're doing it here, you're looking at close to 10,000 a year per employee.
That's right.
We may be in a point of, we're gonna have to start some kind of participation in that. Don't know how much, but, maybe that conversation's for a little bit later, but, because I don't know of anywhere else it's, that's outrageous. That's outrageous. But if anybody's seen their homeowner's insurance or anything else, it's going up the same kind of rate. So, and, I'm getting to the point in my home just being self-insured. So It's outrageous.
So, Ms. Need, this might be a good argument for the employee health clinic or doing some sort of in-house, health
Right,
services.
something like an employee health clinic
Mm-hmm.
could certainly probably save us on the small claims, things like blood work or things like that we could do in-house. And-
Well, the preventive health is gonna pay down the road too over time, right? Because I think this benefit has some preventive health stuff, right? That you could have annual exams and stuff like that.
It does.
So, wow.
Well, I know a couple of years ago, they came with a plan from First Health. That was a First Health program. I'm wondering if, Scotland doesn't have something similar to that under the, what's the, HU? Is that the name?
HM.
Yeah. And see, I wonder if they have something under that. I don't know. That's just maybe a way to reduce it. And I know that cuts back on your options for doctors or whatever, but that's still local. So
That's what United Healthcare would do too. It would cut back. Normally what we found is the larger areas use United Healthcare, Greensboro, Mecklenburg, the bigger cities because, and they told us yesterday that if we went with United Healthcare, that it would decrease employees as far as.
well, we made that change last year before,
2 years ago.
and we had to go back and change it.
I mean, and historically, and this is based on my memory, which is not always the best, we shop insurance about every 2 to 3 years. If you don't, it'll start pounding and pounding you. So we end up switching insurance companies.
And it's not just,
No, everybody has to do
Everybody has
that,
to.
or they, yeah.
So Monty, if we have a better year, let's say our employees are healthier, we don't have these big claims, is there a chance this would go down?
That's what they said,
Not this year. It may go down when.
No, I mean in the
Long
next
term,
year.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It takes
it's
3 years.
risk.
I think that's what they told me on mine. It takes
Yeah.
3 years for it to go down.
Because basically we have a broker. Mark III is our broker, and they're out there shopping for us, arguing for us. And they even said, hey, you had these 12 people who are with really high claims. Now you're down to 8. So either something happened, they're either cured or left or whatever, but they're not. So they even try to argue points like that. So we already know it's probably going to go down. And I guess, well, and one thing that stuck out for me on the call yesterday, they said Blue Cross Blue Shield has to make their money back. They lost money on it this year, and they got to make their money back. Here we go, 30%. They want to
So
make it
do
back.
counties ever work together in a collaborative or cooperative to kind of help this?
That, what you see, that last column is what that is. It is brand new. And like, well, a whole lot about it. It's absolutely brand new. But that is what that quote would be. They're trying to
I just don't
do
like
that.
So it sounds like that's a pool of counties that are
Maybe
self-funded
not.
in a pool.
that because the state did away with their pool.
Right,
Yeah.
because it
Because I know the
was
council COG is having to change because they did away with theirs.
And doing that dropped it like 15%, from
Looks
the
like the
40.
choice is pretty straightforward.
not necessarily
I think just for the purpose of today's meeting, we find out more about that self-funded, because I don't like that word, but, it could end up costing you more. And,
I've heard of certain organizations being self-funded as far as insurance,
yeah,
not as far as health.
right.
Insurance.
Or, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know. This is not sustainable.
No, not. I mean, we might could figure it out for this year. It's tough, but it could not continue.
If anybody can
Like
sit here and
this.
explain to me how we would turn to the 35,000 county residents and say, I need to increase your rate by 6% so we can afford to pay insurance. I know we've got to, but they're worried about paying their own too. and there's a lot of them going without it.
Well, as long as our workforce get older, you're gonna have issues
Yeah.
You are.
every year. You can't predict who's gonna have cancer and who's not.
So what's the total expenditure in this area?
And,
Pull that up from-
The large
The-
claims,
No, I think, do you mean what we're paying in?
What we're paying for
in
this?
premium?
it's
Premium.
2.8 million this
Not
year.
claims.
It'll be
Okay.
3.7.
$10,000 times 350 employees a year,
So what's that number?
approximately, what is
Well,
that?
this year it's 2.8 million. Next year it'll be, if we stay on the same plan, it'll be 3.7.
3 point.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the self-insured model, because I think somebody mentioned that Richmond County is self-insured on this. I think they would be worth understanding, how did they do that?
They may have something with first help.
They
have
may,
something
but
with,
I think I'd like to understand that, because that may be another option that we could look at if we could replicate that and it works for us, why not at least look at it? It may not work for us for some reason, but this is gonna, and I agree with Duke, this is gonna continue year after year as our workforce gets older and they need, more health care. And I think we gotta come up with a strategy that's better than just paying the increases every year if it's possible.
I think last year it was what, 10%, April?
I don't know.
I wasn't
That
certain
sounds
that, but
right.
I think
It's
like
typically, I
10%
think,
last
between
year.
10 and 15. I don't know that we've ever seen anything like 30%.
it had to
Like
be.
that when Monty told me this, I said, no, back to the drawing board. We can't do that.
Well, I know the first health option that we looked at a couple of years ago, but it was kind of off because it was mainly out of county care.
Well,
Well,
there's
and
two
it-
things. The Health Map RX program, the diabetes program that we have, where the people that are diagnosed with diabetes don't pay anything for theirs. Like, I don't think we can afford to lose that, and we were gonna lose that.
But who says we're not gonna lose that if we go the self-funded route too?
That's what we're saying.
So that's why we need to know the answers, to that plan more.
So
And
April,
then
can you
we-
take an action for figuring out what?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got in my notes, we're gonna talk to Mark III about this last column, the self-funded, and we'll call, Richmond County and say, tell us what you're
Tell us,
doing.
and I bet they're not the only self-funded county in the
Right.
state.
I know, I'm
How
sure.
are they doing it? I think we're missing something, because the relative size, everything else is very similar.
Learn what the nuts and bolts of that look like.
Yeah.
Good data now, so we could take and put in like our claims for this year and see if we had been self-funded this year, would we have lost or if we would have come out ahead?
I think that's absolutely what we need to do. And I'd also want to know what's their direction. Are they thinking they're going to stay with it? Or is their current experience telling them, okay, we can't keep doing this. We're going to have to go on to one of these performance funded plans or something like that. So
We can do that.
thank you.
Take a look at also some kind of happy medium on employee participation in that. I mean, I don't want to go crazy with that, but.
Well, there's different models out there for that too.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Ms. Chavis was telling me the state's probably fixing to do it to state employees this year.
Yeah.
And there was a very interesting model she was talking about. But yeah, we'll look at that too. Like while we're talking to Richmond, we'll ask them, do y'all do that or?
Definitely look around.
Well, now, and we only do employee only. We don't do employee.
No,
Or do we
they
do-
already picked that up. if they
Let me
want.
ask it this way. So an employee and they get their spouse. So employee's 745 this year, spouse is 1308. Is the 1308 the difference in 745 or do they pay the whole 1308?
Extra.
That's the 1308 is the.
I think
No,
that's that extra, that part of
I
it.
think that's the
No,
total.
they have to pay the
That's the
difference
total,
between the
like-
seven.
I
That's
use
what I'm
myself,
Yeah.
So right now they're playing the difference between the
Right.
two.
yes.
Okay.
Like,
Employee plus
employee-
family, that's $1,000.
Yes.
An employee
Yes.
with a child is gonna pay $350 a month for that child.
Right. But with a family, they're gonna pay,
A family, they're gonna pay $549 to have them all insured and still have to meet all.
no, that's the increase.
That's the, yeah.
Yeah, you saying for the family, Tim?
It's not gonna be $500 and something a child.
That's it.
Right now, for a child, and I know, because I haven't, right now, for a child is 200 and something, it's gonna go up to 350.
Yeah, but that's the difference between the employee cost. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
That was my question. They're not paying $1,077 on an
No.
employee child. They're paying the difference between that and $755.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was
It's the
saying.
difference.
But you saying the spouse
Which is
and
the
the child,
$250 or whatever you're
you
saying.
saying the spouse and the child is $1,000 difference.
Well, if that was employee and a family
Right.
is $2,200. And that would be the difference between that and $900. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
We only have, I think, maybe 30-something employees that have dependent coverage, anyhow, right? And it's probably.
What it can't afford.
Right, we can't afford it.
Do we treat county employees at the Department for minor injuries now? We don't.
Not unless they,
I mean,
I guess you say as a private person,
yeah.
went in and said, I want my treatment.
No, I'm
from
talking
the
about
health
county employees.
No, we don't have an employee health clinic. And that's what Mr. O'Neill was referencing. We've talked about it for years. We really need to get it off the ground.
It's time.
At one, it's, I think, a morale booster for staff. I could be on the clock, I got a sinus infection. I could be on the clock, go over, be seen, get my medicine, and come back to work.
Right.
I really think people might use it. And it could affect this.
Do Richmond County or any of the surrounding counties have something
Richmond County
similar?
has one. And they said they love it.
We need to look at their model, the way they're doing it.
They love it. Richmond County told us that last week. He said it's very successful.
And it is where they can go and get prescriptions like for. like you-
Well, right now, we don't have a pharmacy, so I guess your prescription would be called.
But
into
they can
your
write a
pharmacy.
prescription though.
But they can write one, yeah, because we have, not nurse practitioners.
PAs.
Yeah, do they have, that's, I was going to ask the next
What do we
question.
have?
Is it a doctor or? a
You have
PA?
to
We have
choose it as your
providers.
provider. to
We have
use it.
people that can write prescriptions,
Okay.
2 of them
PAs.
at the health department.
I think we need to look at the model of that, if everybody else agrees with it. We need to
I'll
look,
tell you what, I
we need to
think
look at the model of that and see how they
in
do it.
every area, we should be asking ourselves, who's doing something different? Is it working? Is it better? Would
I
it
agree.
work for us?
Mhm.
In every possible area of government. I mean,
Learn from others,
Okay,
from
so
the successes and what didn't
we're
work.
gonna do the checking into that. We're gonna check into that new option to see what that would end up doing.
Okay.
I would check with the local and see if there is some kind of atrium plan that, just like First Health was offering us,
Mhm.
but, you know, there will be problems with it, we're there, but,
Like a local broker who can also, because this is just one broker shopping for us, Mark III.
right.
There's other brokers in the area that we've used before to also shop.
Well, and, yeah. You could do that and check with other.
They may
local
know
brokers.
of another plan that maybe, I don't know, Mark III doesn't
What's the,
use or
Mark III, what's the guy from Pembroke?
Jarrett.
Jared. Maybe-
And I've talked to him because he's the regional director of the people doing this work for us. I said
Okay.
Jarrett like.
So he's Mark III, okay.
Yeah.
so April, when is the next opportunity to talk about what we learned about this subject?
We could do it April 7th at our regular commissioners meeting. If you
Okay.
want to go ahead and get what
If
we
we-
have then, we can.
If
we
you
can
could,
talk about
please. I think this is gonna be a significant budget impact for us, and if we're gonna make a change, we better get to stepping.
Yeah, definitely, if you're gonna consider a change, that's a lot on personnel, always understanding that becomes
Yeah.
a lot, especially this late in the game.
Well, it's a good incentive too for county employees, you know, to have some medical treatment here.
Oh, absolutely,
If we can
I
save
would
them
hope
some
people would
money.
really like that.
And that's my hope, is that we can maybe get to a situation where their premiums go down, but access goes up.
Well, and here's the thing, if they go to our clinic and we bill insurance, we're at least paying ourselves back to some degree.
That's right.
So, okay.
Okay. All right, moving right along to, the initial budget projections. Don't remove your pillow from the side of your chair. You may need it again.
All right, so in your packet, you should have the projection. This is our first draft of where we are right now. And what I did is compared last year's original budget for fiscal year 25. We have that in one column, and then our projections for fiscal year 26 in the second column for revenues. And just going over rough numbers, last year we had 54.8 million in our original budget. This year, we are starting out with 51.8 million. The two major factors that we don't have locked, sales tax and ad valorem taxes, those amounts could change in the next few months. So this is just a preliminary rough estimate here. And you'll notice that unrestricted revenues are down about 200,000. We had sales tax refund amounts in there for 2 years. We had not been refunded for fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. So those revenues were in fiscal year 25's amount. So that is a reduction for this year. DSS has put in some preliminary numbers for restricted revenue, so that amount there could go up or down depending on what their final numbers are.
Maybe revenues could go up.
Yes, revenues could go up or down. And everything else pretty much with permits and fees, charges for services, interest, fund balance, which is the other sources line there, and miscellaneous revenues, which is the majority of the school lease income that we get from that project.
Beth,
Everything pretty much remains pretty consistent with those amounts there.
What's the other sources?
That's fund balance.
Okay.
So right now, the only thing that is in that amount with the 74,000 is that we have about 60-some thousand left over for the John Blue House that we have not expended as of the date of this report. And re-entry asked for an additional $8,000 to cover some of the expenses that are not covered by the grant.
The 64 in reference to John Blue is remaining of the one.
But that's the state budget.
Right.
Did the commissioners approve 8,000 for entry? Because I thought it was
It was
5.
5 and they asked for an additional 3, so that's plugged in here. That was in.
You're talking about for next year?
Yes, for next year, yes, for 26. So that makes up the 74,000. So that is the only thing.
That's assuming they were given that.
Correct. That's if that is
They haven't
approved.
approved that.
Right.
Well, my headaches from this are many. I don't think our projection for ad valorem taxes is close to $1 million off, and I don't
Right.
think that's gonna happen.
And then there again, that is just rough numbers, and those two, with sales tax and with ad valorem, I know those are gonna change.
Yeah, I mean, that right there is a $2 million swing, just if they go back to what they were. And the unrestricted revenues is a little difference in that. Of course, you explained the other sources. Miscellaneous revenues, again, you know how bad I hate that word. but
The majority of that, there's $2 million of that is the school lease.
The other thing, this sheet, I look at anomalies, things that jump off the page. I guess one of the ones is we've actually got the sheriff's office going down 500,000.
I see that.
What?
The sheriff's office
Going down?
and the jail going down 160,000.
I noticed those as well, and we have not had our budget meetings with them, so I am not sure what.
You're doing that next week, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So
so I'm just telling you my what I'm looking at.
And you have transportation going down.
Transportation going down, inspection and not inspections. There was another one. Well, I think you mentioned it. The health department is looking for an $800,000 increase, and DSS looking for a $1.3 million increase.
Again, yeah, we haven't had budget meetings.
So, but swinging all that around, that puts us about back to even if we stay even with it. The only other one that I got a question, 2 questions on, industrial incentive grants are jumping up 300,000, but I don't know of any that's coming up. There's not new ones.
So this was a rough estimate. I am not sure how those are calculated. I'm not involved in that process.
Well, they should never go up.
So that, and two, we've got one that we have not, we were doing a split year because they didn't ask for their dollars and we didn't have that budgeted. So if we don't get it paid out this year, we will
Do we-
possibly pay it out next year. So that's kind
But
of
do
where
we
we're,
pay it if they didn't submit?
I don't know what the agreement
We
says.
can probably talk to you about that.
I'm just saying that I don't know of any new ones coming up
On the
that would
table.
account for $300,000.
Right.
I'm not saying to decrease last year's, but I think there may be some room there. The other one is a school fund up $500,000. How much did you use in that number?
10 million.
And 300?
And then the rest of it is debt service.
But, and 300?
Yes,
10
the
million.
10 and the 3, everything remained consistent. The only thing that would have changed was debt service.
So
And then, the lottery funds, we don't know what those are yet, so I just use what we.
and I know, because I said to do that, because I didn't want to get caught. But our offer on the table right now, liaison committee, is 975. That's the number on the table with liaison.
And that's with the,
Including capital.
yeah, that's right, that's with the capital, that's right.
And that's not identifying amount for capital, they can identify whatever they want to out of that for capital. A lot of headache there, but, the ADM is gonna be even lower than what, they're at 5118 today by his presentation.
And that was lower than the.
That was
liaison.
lower than the liaison committee, which was another 100 less.
Exactly.
And then they were planning on dropping another 100, so they could very well 5,000 this year.
Very close.
And funding it at that level that they're saying the ADM today is, if we go with 975, it's still an increase per student.
Yeah, but
Correct.
don't forget the 300 kids that they said is not in the pre-K program.
Yeah, but that's been
It's been included in the.
30 years,
They-
that's
yeah,
been
they-
going
they
on.
get-
That
they
ain't
get
nothing.
pre-K
new.
funds for
And they
that,
get
sure.
funded.
They get
Separate
pre-K
audit.
funds for that, so.
Yeah, they get a.
They're calling it
They
unfunded
get
because
money
it's
for
not in the ADM.
Yeah,
But it's funded. I'm on the board.
Yeah, it's funded by the state.
but I'm just saying that we're not cutting them per pupil amount, no matter what we do. It's not cutting it, it's going up.
Well, actually, if their ADM is what he projected, we're actually increasing.
That's what I'm saying. We're
Yeah.
increasing the per pupil
80.
amount, no matter
Yes.
what way we go here.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's projection wise, I don't know. I don't know if I'd start playing on that number yet or not, but you may can. You may can back a couple hundred out of it, but because we haven't come up to an agreement. If you haven't read Senator Britt's bill, and I took the time to actually read it, and it's gone through committees, it just hasn't been voted on yet. They say he did it, I don't know who wrote it. Put a line in this bill that says for this, the schools have to accept whatever we give. There's no mediation, no court, nothing allowed. They just have to take it. Now, next year it goes back, not back, but goes to what the other counties are held accountable, where they can do mediation or they just don't use the formula. I thought that odd because I had not, he didn't tell me he was filing it. So
Yes, two, Alamance and I think Avery County was there too. That's a House bill. HB 58's got that.
Yeah, so why he put it in there like that, I don't know, which I'm fine with, but I don't want to
He put it in there, we probably told him to put it in there like that.
But to say, I didn't even
Like
know.
his bill, his Senate still stands the way
Right.
it was. This is a House bill written by two other representatives.
Okay. So I don't think we get crazy on that. Some places may take advantage of that, but I don't see us doing that.
We still need to be mindful that, this is
I
our
don't-
children
yeah.
and grandchildren.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to take advantage of that. If it passes, it ain't passed. It ain't been signed. It hasn't been anything done on it. So, but anyway, that might be some room in there to wiggle around. All right. Anybody else have any comments on this right now?
I will just So you'll know this does include 2% COLA and progression plan is backing it already.
Okay, 2%, I was gonna ask that.
And then the progression
And
increases.
and
for staff
progression.
raises.
2% COLA.
Mhm. And everything else, of course, 401k, health insurance. So basically, employees would lose nothing in this, the way it's written.
Right, well, last year we had to take out
Last year we
progressions,
took
right?
it, so it's back, and
It's back,
everything else is still in there too.
and I wanna see that, I wanna try to see that stay, I mean,
Yeah,
but we got to do that.
we do.
Um,
Well, and there's
so
things
April-
too that we know we're not gonna be 100% staff, which means we know we're not gonna pay $10,000 for 350 employees. Things like that, we can conservatively reduce, not cut ourselves short, but we're not gonna be 100% staff.
And I think we pretty much covered those in our other discussions about the budget, unless somebody else has something or something you're looking for direction wise.
No, really, I'll kind of do that as we talk about different subjects. Like you said, unless there's something new somebody wants to bring up about giving us direction for the budget, we've got our directions.
I tell you, I really hope we can keep the COLA and the progression increase in there. But I just think we're gonna have to really sharpen the pencil everywhere else to do that.
Well, and
So-
sometimes we have to start, everybody knows this, but I think sometimes you say it out loud. We have to decide, can we go without this new position or without this so we can do more for our current staff?
That's right.
And I mean, sometimes we make choices like that, so,
Well,
at every level.
correct me if I'm wrong. The billing that goes out this year is gonna be the normal valuation. The billing that goes out next year will be after the revaluation, right? So our budget next year, this time, are gonna be much different than what we're having today. So we gotta get through this
If
year.
we can get through this year and I mean, I don't think that means you can, where everybody is, you can't walk in next year and say, oh, wow, now we can get all these extra positions and things
Right,
like
no, I
that.
don't wanna have that.
But you breathe a little easier.
Right, right.
I know we had talked about doing anything for the citizens, for its tax bill.
Mhm.
Oh, I'd love to keep it as close to revenue neutral as we can. So if it goes up 40%, I'd like to be able to back the rate down 40%. Please don't quote me on that saying. But I don't, but maybe we reduce it by 30%.
And have some more revenue.
Right, and still have more revenue. So, yeah, I'd like to keep it as close to revenue neutral as we can get. I'm with you with that. So, just because it goes up, and I'm not saying it's going up 40, what are they projecting, 30 or 40%? From what I hear,
40 to 60.
until 60, yeah, I've
I
heard,
pulled
I've
the
heard.
last 10 sales. The last 10 qualified sales that we have sold in this county. And it's up by 69.4%.
Yeah, it's gonna be, it's gonna scare the devil out of some people. It's gonna scare the devil out of me when I get mine. But, but we gotta remember, don't we? Yeah. Look at the dollars. Wait till you see the dollars. Don't worry about what the evaluation is. Wait till you see what the end dollar amount is.
Yeah, and two, just so you can keep this in mind, we will want to send that communication out when we send those values out next year. And that might be something what some of you guys want to participate in creating that
Oh, yeah.
communication out to taxpayers, because it is going to be a shock.
I say it every time I speak somewhere. Don't panic when it comes out, because there's already panicking going on.
Yes.
And just to mention this, I don't know if you know, the state has looked at two bills of property tax relief for elderly. I don't know how they define elderly.
I was gonna say, where's that age?
I'm
I'm approaching it.
If it's the amount of gray. we're in
Don't
good
worry,
shape.
you're already there. Don't
Well,
worry.
hey, if that's the case, I can qualify at 16.
But for people with disability and veterans, and I don't know what that's gonna look like or if it passes, that could put a unfunded mandate on us.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because I don't know how it's gonna affect us. So the NCACC is actively lobbying for revenue replacement from the state. If they do that, that's great to do, because I'd love to see it happen. But We got to have something, we don't know how that's gonna affect this overall total amount. And with that said, there is a program out there now when it's 80 years old. How old is it that they qualify to have a reduction?
It's 65, but you have to meet certain criteria.
Yeah, it's gotta be certain
Within income limits.
income limits and all that they can apply for now, and it's only on the first 50,000 if I'm not mistaken.
Right, you can get up to a $25,000 is what they say. If 25,000 or either half, whatever is greater.
Great, yeah.
I think two things we're gonna have to look at too is reducing the reevaluation period. 8 years is so long, and that turbulence.
That's, some of that's our fault. It came up last time in the middle of COVID, and we didn't wanna do a reevaluation, because we didn't know what was gonna happen. It could have went down substantially.
When I feel like our tax department, I'll give credit to Mickey, is positioning us in a place to be able to do that every 4 years with the use of Eagle View, doing it every 4 years and potentially doing it in-house without having to contract another vendor and pay them a lot of money. So she's positioning them to be ready to do that.
Yeah. On top of that, we gotta do the 1/4 cent sales tax. We've gotta get that across the finish line. Because if we can't just continue so hard on property tax without a consumption tax. And I just, we've got to help ourselves on the revenue side quite a bit and wherever we can. And
I agree with you, Ed. But when you and I were pushing it,
yeah, I know.
and tax right now, and I think what Clarence alluded to a while ago is a dirty word. I think if we could put that on the back burner and we could drop our property taxes as even half of what Tim's saying, I think the citizens would be more accommodating. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. We need the income. But I think if the citizens, when we can show them that we've knocked a pretty good dent or, a decent dent in their property taxes, I think it would pass flying colors.
I just think we have to do those three things together, right? Because if we're going to lower the tax rate, that's a win. If we have this consumption tax that is minuscule, but a huge impact on the county, we can probably project better and do more. And I think we can get this thing across the finish line if we do a better job in the lead up.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, but for us, it's been here forever. Citizens have seen the tax rate go up and down. They want to see it get low and stay low for a little bit.
Well, we didn't advertise it that good either.
Well, I don't even think that would matter.
A lot of the people I talked to when we tried this last time, after I explained it to them, they was all for it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think we got it out there enough. I don't think we reached enough people.
Yeah.
To get it out there.
Well, I think we have a great opportunity here with adjusting the tax rate and all that sort of stuff. But I think we've got to set the vision for how we're going to do this, because what we don't want to do with employees is 2% this year in longevity and then take it away and then bring it back. And, you heard the school system, it's going to be a 3% raise. No questions asked. I mean, it's going to happen. And we're sitting here teetering on
Well,
what we
most
can.
of the cases come from state.
Sure, but I mean,
But
when
they're
you're an
getting it. They're getting
employee,
it, yeah.
you don't care if it's coming from Benny the Frog. You're like, I got 3%.
Yeah.
Right?
And for the record, I'd like to take Mr. Shelley's comment off that Tim didn't promise anything in the tax cut. So.
Well, I didn't say that. I said what you said.
Just something to think about as we move forward. Doing on the medical benefit side and stuff like that. All these things together could make a difference.
I like it.
We just got to keep pulling.
It's all the little things add up. You can $10,000 yourself to death in this business under that. So, all right.
Are we done? I got to go.
Well, we got to have a quick closed session.
Quick close session.
quick closed session. If anybody, nobody else, everybody mind clear? All right, so I need a motion to go into closed
I'll make
session
a motion.
pursuant to the agenda. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you all for coming.
Hey, Carl, we've been here 2 hours.
Well, we skipped a lot of it, so.
We're gonna get about-
Uh,